Hello everyone, this is Greg Alexander. Welcome to the SBI Podcast. I'm excited to bring you a top software executive who knows how to make the number. Joining us in person at SBI's Executive Briefing Center, the studio, is Oni Chukwu, the Chief Executive Officer of etouches. Oni has an exceptional history of accomplishment in leading companies to grow faster than their industry and their competitors, as he is doing here at etouches. So get ready, we're going to cover go-to-market, a topic near and dear to every technology company. Hope you enjoy the show.
From SBI's Executive Briefing Center in Dallas, Texas, the most watched and listened to content in B2B sales and marketing, it's the SBI Podcast with your host, Greg Alexander.
Welcome to the SBI Podcast, a weekly broadcast dedicated to helping you make your number by getting your peers to share with you how they are making theirs. Today we're going to demonstrate how to sufficiently cover your markets by selecting and optimizing your sales channels and packaging your products correctly. So why this topic? Not covering your addressable market entirely is going to result in missed revenue opportunities. Traditional routes to markets sometimes right now are being replaced with innovative ways to reach customers. So packaging your products the same way as your competitors can result in a perceived commoditization and a race to the bottom. So that's why we're talking about what we're talking about today. My name is Greg Alexander. I'm the CEO of SBI, and I'm your host. And joining me in the studio, as always, is my co-host, Melissa Valdez. Melissa's here to point you to resources to advance you along the way of making your number. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. Happy to be here, and welcome to our viewers and listeners.
All right, very good. And helping Melissa and I today with our demonstration is an executive who knows a lot about this topic. His name is Oni Chukwu, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of etouches. And Oni, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Greg. Oni Chukwu is my name, and I'm the CEO of etouches. etouches is the premier leader in event management software. We provide software to over 1,500 customers in 50 countries.
Wow.
Have 7 offices globally. And our software, I think for those that probably don't know, our software covers the gamut from venue sourcing your venue for the event, all the way through analytics. So an event, for instance, would be something that brings you into getting a venue for the hotel for the event, which will be hotels for folks, the conference rooms that you need, all the way through getting registrations done for the event, marketing the event itself, getting a mobile app that will work out the event, and then going through analytics to link the event data to marketing actions. So very comprehensive. We are one of very few companies that do that comprehensively around the world.
Yep. So we have in our audience a large group of marketing leaders, and they spend somewhere between 25 and 35% of their marketing budget on events. They have large staffs supporting these events. It's a very stressful thing to put on events, and people are worried about making sure that the attendees of the event have a great experience. So that's what your software does?
Essentially that, and I think you're not alone. I mean, and your audience is not alone, because a lot of companies now struggle with this. Yeah. Events are very big business, and in particular, they're very complex business.
Yeah.
It's getting the event right and making sure that you're actually getting the return on investment is a big deal.
Yeah.
And as you correctly pointed out, marketing leaders spend more than 30% of their budget on events. Right. And for most of them, it's unaccounted for. They actually really don't know, am I getting the return on this investment?
Yeah.
Or should I be reallocating the investment to other users as well?
Yeah. You know, in these days, the marketing budgets are under attack.
As always.
If you're a CMO and you're going to spend 30% of your budget on events, you better be able to prove that it generated some value for the company. So your analytics offering helps them do that?
Does help them do that. It's again an analytics offering that we developed and rolled out last year that clearly can pinpoint for a marketing leader what per event, on a per event basis and also across events, what they have done and how much value they have gotten out of it, and whether that return on the investment is worth it for them to either continue on that path or use and reallocate the resources to other events and other uses in their marketing budget.
Okay, very good. All right, so I think we understand about your company. You also have an interesting personal history. If you wouldn't mind, I know you have a book under development, and we don't want to steal all your thunder, but maybe explain a little bit to the audience about your professional success. As I understand it, you've been a senior executive, the chief executive at many places along the way, and this is the latest in a long, successful track record. So would you share a little bit about your background?
Sure. So after business school, I studied in technology. I'm one of the, gray hairs in technology, if you will, and have been lucky and been in the right places and, been successful in doing much of what I've done. In that period, I've grown 4 companies and have had some, successful exits. But in particular, I think what gives me a lot of joy is the people that I've brought through the ranks that have actually helped me succeed in these roles. And I want to talk about etouches in particular, because the reason I came to etouches was not really to build another, big company. The idea was I saw an unmet need in a market that's very large, where innovation could clearly become, the differentiator, and brought together a very senior management team to actually, bring that to life. And that's what we're trying to do. Again, revolutionize the event management space.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right, Melissa, I think the audience is going to want to follow along a little bit. Could you explain to them how they might do that?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. At first, I have to say, Ani, I think you're making that up about being one of the gray hairs in technology. But for you, audience, if you'd like to follow along in your How to Make the Number workbook, we will be in the corporate strategy section, section 5, go to market, and you'll turn to page 86, phase 4, coverage and channels.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let me jump into the questions. And again, just to remind the audience, we're talking about coverage right now and how to coverage your addressable market with a variety of sales channels. So the way that you're doing it right now at your new market leading company, etouches, are you going to the market with a direct sales organization or a channel-based sales organization, a combination, and more importantly, why did you decide that route to market?
So we are doing both. So we're going direct and we're going through channels. And that decision came about because of, a fairly large plate to play with. Our market is very big. It's a $5 billion market on the one hand, and on the hospitality side, it's actually a $4 billion market. So together, we're addressing a $9 billion market. The best way we thought to go about it is do direct and also build a very effective channel program. So our direct program consists of salespeople, going direct to customers, and also account managers managing, fairly effectively a global customer base. On the channel piece, we also developed a fairly robust program to really address that, where we're selling through industry associations, organizations that either relate to or attach to what we're doing. And in particular, now we're extending that to software companies that actually could become distributors for us overall in the market.
Yeah. The one thing I learned about your company recently, and it relates to this topic of coverage, is that you really pride yourself on giving your customers a fantastic experience throughout their entire customer journey. And you mentioned that part of your go-to-market model is the account manager, who is probably contributing to that great customer experience. So tell the audience a little bit about why you prioritized, that wonderful experience, maybe over, other competitive advantages like cost or, I don't know, expansion in some kind. So why the customer experience?
So events by their very nature are very important, but also very intimate. It's one where, people have mentioned, the obituary has been written so many times about face-to-face is not going to be happening because, budgets are under attack and all of that. But what we're finding out is deals get done in person. People want to meet in person. So events have become even that much more important. So as you look at our customer base and, so what drives them, we find out that it is important to provide them the highest level of customer service. It's important that that interaction between, that people come to enjoy face-to-face happens and it's enjoyable. And we've made significant investments over the past couple of years to customer service to make sure that we are the leaders in that area. So we pride ourselves in what we've done. Our customers support it fully on customer service, that we single-handedly have changed the market in how it looks at the customer interaction and how to make that very fruitful.
Yeah. What I find remarkable about what we're talking about right now is your customer service organization is so strategic to you that you decided to keep it domestic, and you decided to really invest in it. And it's remarkable in that how it stands out from your competitors, because as I understand it, many of the competitors have gone to a more low-cost model. That's odd for a CEO to do that. Usually CEOs are trying to lower costs whenever possible, but in this particular case, you decided to invest. How did you get the courage to do that? Like, that takes conviction.
It takes a lot of conviction. It takes a lot of conviction both internally as well as externally, as you look at it and look at shareholder value. But we made the decision, myself and my management team made the decision earlier on, that what our customers need is that they need quality interaction and the quality customer service. And it was important for us to make the investment where it mattered. And I believe actually in the end, if you're not being very short-termish about value, that you find out that this is the one that significantly contributes to shareholder value. And we're seeing that in the way we've grown. Our company has grown 50% year over year over the past 4 years, and continues on that speed to accelerate it over time. Yeah. So we're seeing that is paying dividends, and we're happy about that investment. And our customers, importantly, are very happy about it.
Yeah, and they're validating your decision.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
You can't put up growth numbers like that if that's not working.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do that. Yeah. And our investors are coming around to believing that is the right strategy as well.
Yeah. It's a refreshing story. We do a lot in the software space, and sometimes software go-to-market approaches can be a little transactional in nature. The sales team falls in love with you when there's a deal on the table, but once the deal's done, they forget your name. In your case, once the deal's done, you actually give them more love because you're showering them with customer success.
Precisely. And what we try to do is be a lot more strategic in our approach to the market. Our market is big. Our customers are very passionate about buying from us. And what we're trying to give them is love. Yeah. In fact, I think it's important that you mentioned that, because the moniker actually for us is love your software. So essentially, we're bringing that to our customer base. We're not just saying it, we're living the motto.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, this is probably a good time for a break. Melissa, I think you have some things you want to make the audience aware of. Is that true?
Yes, that is true, Greg. I would like to take a moment to invite you, our audience, to 10x your SBI experience here at the studio. The studio is our executive briefing center located here in Dallas, Texas. It was specifically designed by SBI for executive teams who have a lot on the line, but not a lot of time to waste. So if that sounds like you, and you want to get 3 months of work done in 3 days and accelerate your revenue growth, please visit salesbenchmarkindex.com/thestudio and come visit us in Dallas.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's jump back into the questions. My next line of question here is regarding coverage leakage. And let me define that term a little bit for the audience. Coverage leakage says we all have a finite amount of resources. And if I have those resources pursuing segments of the market and certain customer types that might not represent the type of customer that would see value in our solution, that's coverage leakage, and that resources aren't properly deployed. You operate globally, and you have lots and lots of customers, and more importantly, you have thousands of future potential customers. How do you make sure that you don't suffer from coverage leakage?
By being very vigilant and very disciplined about that. It is one thing, and I think you're right. We cover a lot of geography. We're in many places, and we've grown to become very used to the places that we're in and have significant customer ratings in these places. So what we do is stay very disciplined on that coverage leakage. We do not want to, because as you said very rightly, it's very dilutive to a lot of things that you could do on the sales and marketing go-to-market basis. So we try to not do that by staying very disciplined. Sometimes, of course, it happens inevitably, but our focus usually is on the coverage and making sure that we're, adequately covering those places.
Yep. Now, your company, fast-growing software company, 50+% growth. Normally, we don't see companies like yours with a global presence like you have. So again, that took courage to go do and conviction to do it, because I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity here in the United States, but you're covering the market globally anyways. Is that another demonstration of you wanting to serve your customers and recognizing that they have global events and therefore having local coverage is important?
That is correct. So what we have actually done, most of our customers are either global or even when they're headquartered in the States or in North America, they have offices globally. We're finding out events are a fairly global affair and felt that there was a need to make sure that we have the footprint that we've had overseas. And just a little bit of story here, because we actually started as an event management services company and then transformed into an event management software company over time. We started in the UK and then moved the company to the US.
Okay.
So we have our roots both in services, servicing customers, sitting in the shoes of the event planner, understanding what they have to go through, and then building software for them that fit that purpose. So that is one. So we typically say that event is in our DNA.
Yeah.
We actually started by doing events and understanding what should work. Second, also, we started in the UK, where that gave us sort of international roots. So unlike most companies in our space, they typically are doing, they start in one place and they stay there for a while. In our case, it gave us the opportunity, and in fact, almost a privilege, to have offices and locations globally where our software is multi-language, multi-currency, and the support is 24/7 globally. So to have that and have the challenges that comes with a global company with support and still maintain the very high customer ratings that we do have on customer service is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. One thing you brought up there that I want to make sure that we point out to the audience, which is really unique, is that you started as a services company.
Correct.
And you were your customer.
Correct. That's right.
That's incredible. Right. So, that means you know what your customer is dealing with better than anybody in your industry could ever possibly know, because they weren't your customer.
We often, it's a very good point, Greg, because we often actually, asked by, our customers, they couldn't be a better position to begin, our journey than being in their shoes.
Yeah.
Understanding very clearly what an event, planner goes through on event day, before the event, and all of those things that make it critical for us to provide the services that they need at the time that they need it.
Yeah.
And that is why our customers rave about us, and that's why we'll have such high customer ratings.
Yeah. So back in the day, which I know was a long time ago, so you can speak in generalities, when you were a services company, is that where the idea, so when you don't have a full software suite like you offer your customers, you're doing lots of manual processes, which sometimes are prone to a lot of human error. They certainly don't allow for the closed-loop analytics that you have offered. Is that where the idea for the software originated?
Yes, and I'll take you back back to the day. What we did was provide services, event management services, to corporate clients. Now we then developed software to help us manage the services that we provided them, and then from time to time, these corporate clients started to come to us and say, we like the software that you actually use to manage this. Can we license it? And that was the evolution of how the company essentially started. That is instructive in itself, just because many companies never really sat in the shoes of the users, and that creates such odd disconnects between what they give the market and what the market actually needs.
Yeah.
In our case, I think it's taught us the discipline to listen to our customers often and always, and make sure that we give them what they actually need rather than what we think they need.
Yeah. You bring new meaning to the term "eat your own dog food." I mean, you really did. You were using the software to deliver the service. Your customer said, "Hey, what's that?" Right? And then you made it available to them.
I would probably say drink your own Kool-Aid or something.
That's probably a better way to say it.
It tastes better than dog food, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, this is probably a good spot for a break. Melissa, I think there's something else you wanted to remind the audience of, correct?
Yes, absolutely. If you are interested in anything that Ani and Greg have covered today, if anything resonates with you and you would like to implement it with your team, you don't have to go at it alone. Please consider scheduling a workshop with one of our SBI team members. To learn more about the content covered in these workshops, go to sbi.tips/2018 workbook. Excited about our new workbook.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to change our questioning here to the second part of our show, which is the topic around packaging. And here, I'd like you to really think about your experience in software, which is now many years, and this concept of packaging software, which has gone through quite a few evolutions. And I thought maybe the way that we could facilitate this conversation is that I'll describe a packaging type or a packaging approach so that our audience can learn about these different approaches. And then I'd like to get your perspective on them. Do you think they work? Do you think they don't work? Do you think there's certain times maybe it's advantageous to use one or the other? Maybe share what you decided to go with today, et cetera. But really think about this as us teaching the audience about packaging, okay? So the first type of packaging we see is the all-you-can-eat package, which is basically one offer for all products and features. Pay me one price and you get everything. So in your career, have you used that before? Did you find it effective, ineffective? What's your opinion on all-you-can-eat?
So I think it is, so I have used it before, and I used it in a market that I thought was, close to, maturing. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was effective. I wouldn't use it today, just given the variety of products that we offer, because I think it makes sense where it's a one-size-fits-all product that all you can eat start to make sense. But it also doesn't allow you, as a company to be able to price for value, because I do believe that as you're adding products, and as you're, be it through acquisitions or through inorganic means, that you don't get the benefit of charging for them. So it's not one I would recommend today in our industry as it currently sits. Yeah,
and the reason for that is because you're innovating.
Correct.
Right, and as you create more value for the customers, they're probably okay paying for that because it's helping them quite a bit.
Our industry is at such an interesting stage because it allows innovation, also innovation. It pushes and encourages innovation, and it's willing to pay for innovation because it's just starting, and it's a convergence of video, audio, mobile, all of that, and not to pay for innovation essentially stifles innovation, and our industry is paying for it. So there's no reason not to give them that, and then make sure they're paying for value.
Yeah. Okay, so good advice. So the all-you-can-eat packaging doesn't really work if you're in a fast growth emerging market. It works, in your opinion, maybe a little bit more when the market's mature and there's not as much innovation happening.
Correct.
Okay. All right, the next type of packaging is what we call category bundling. Okay. So think of a company that's moving from a company that has several products, and they're bundling these products potentially up into solutions, and they're presenting bundles to the customer. Have you used that before in the past, and what's your opinion there?
So we are about to start to implement, something similar to that.
Okay.
Where it's an evolutionary step where you're going from a product company to a solutions company. Yeah. I think it serves us very well. It's because as a company, we're very on the innovative edge. We're constantly adding products, constantly innovating, giving our customers value for what they pay us. And I think it makes sense for our customers, and given that there's segments of customers, and you're not serving just one industry, there's segments of customers that need certain things and certain solution sets that you can actually package and make it more meaningful to them.
Yeah.
So it's one size fits all doesn't work, but in this case, the packaging becomes very critical.
And it's advantageous for the customer because I'm a customer, I'm buying the software potentially for the first time. I might not know what I need in a bundle, but yet you do this for a living. So by bundling it, you're actually making it easier for me to get value from your solution.
It's a much easier decision for the customer at that point because they look at it and just say, yep, this is what I need. I'm not paying for what I don't need.
Yep.
This is exactly fit for purpose.
Yep.
And and they're not paying any extra for anything else.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one, which is this concept of good, better, best. And the way that I would describe this for the audience is it's a lineup of packages with increasingly more feature functionality. So do you have an opinion on good, better, best?
Yeah, of course I have an opinion on it. I think it's actually it lends itself to particular industries and particular companies and particular areas. I do believe that in some cases, again, just similar to the
category bundling.
the category bundling that we talked about. Yep. This one helps you decide on some customers will choose the lower version of things, and then maybe over time grow into the mid, and then maybe over time to the superior bundle. But I think it works very well because it allows you to be able to use your budget fairly effectively, and also use what you need when you need it.
Yep.
So I do think that's good.
Yeah, I agree with you, and again, another customer-friendly approach because if I'm doing this for the first time, maybe I want to start out with an entry-level package, then I want to grow into these other things after I've had some success, and a packaging approach with good, better, best allows me to do that.
And again, it works very well where you have you're a product company, and then you have certain packages that you can do, and we do that with some of our lower entry products. Just actually give customers an entryway to get into, and then probably over time, improve on the offering.
Okay, very good. All right, so number 4 here is what we call use case packaging. And this is where you have a variety of packages that are targeted at specific use cases. So for example, one thing I recently learned about your business is that your software is used differently depending on where the event planner is. So pre-event, there's certain things that are really important. During the event, it's a different use case, and after the event, it's a different use case as an example, right? So do you think use case packaging is an effective packaging approach in the software business?
Absolutely, I do think it is. And I think the example you have is a very good one, where in our industry, where you have almost 3 stages to it, pre-event, at event, and post-event. Yeah. I think depending, again, on the customer and depending on the situation, it could be the right approach. Where it doesn't work, though, and I think it's a big caveat there, where it doesn't work is where you need, even though it's pre, during, and post-event, where you have actually a pull through all 3 stages of it. And in our industry, you actually do have that, because you don't just do the pre-event and do your registration and do all that and then stop.
Right.
You still have to do the event.
Yep.
And then over time, you have to actually get the reports out of the event. So most times it wouldn't work, but I think where it works and gives the customer the flexibility, it would be a good thing.
Yeah, okay, very good. And then lastly is one that we may have abused a little bit in the software business over time, and that's bundled discounts.
Oh boy, yeah.
Right. So if you buy 1, my price is X. If you buy 10, my price is X minus Y. So what's your opinion on bundled discounts?
I don't know that it works as well. I think it's the reason I think is I think our customers, and not just our customers, but software buyers in general, are very savvy now. And anything gimmicky like that, it sort of smells like a gimmick. Yeah. And most people would look at it and look away. So I do believe that it wouldn't really work with an educated customer or a savvy customer, because they would just see it as games. Yeah. And it's one that we try to stay away from. Yeah.
Personally, I can't stand this one. and I think maybe in the early days of the software industry, we relied on this too heavily, and and we're still living with the consequences of that.
Of
right?
course.
It's not uncommon for buyers of software to wait to the last day of a quarter to make a decision.
And then
right?
they get a discount. They get, everybody feels like they got a deal, and it really isn't.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, I think you have one more thing you want to bring to the attention of the audience. Is that right?
Yes, if you are not a current subscriber, or if you are a current subscriber and you want to personalize your SBI content experience, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/register, and you can pick and choose the topics of your interest and when you want to receive them.
Fantastic. Oni, that was a great demonstration today. I really appreciate you coming on the show and contributing to our body of knowledge. I know I got a lot smarter today, and I think our audience did as well. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Greg, for having me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, that's it for today. As always, until next time, I wish you good luck as you try and make your number.